it's Joya. I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
So those of you who are just listening, of course, I always invite people to join Patreon so they can see our guests because I have no unattractive people around me. I've decided everybody is amazingly beautiful and not just on the exterior, but the internal. So y'all need to jump over and
Oh,
see Joya. Yes, see Joya indeed. So I'm so glad you're here. We haven't had a chance to talk in a long time. It's just been kind of on
yeah.
social media, emails. So I don't want this to be too much of a personal conversation.
Right. No, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you some questions, but before I do, I want to read something to you. So I just want you to relax and
Okay.
listen for just a moment. All right, let's
Absolutely.
go. Yeah. Joya Owens is a singer songwriter, wife, mom, creative collaborator, community leader, strategist, and entrepreneur, breaking down barriers and is positioned to become a foreseeable global powerhouse in music and technology. As an American singer songwriter with over 20 years of music and entertainment experience across more than 10 countries independently, she has worked with the likes of Mary J. Blige and brands like ASCAP, BET, Fox Network, and Ford. She was elected as a network leader of the global organization NABFIM and partners with brands like General Assembly and Fiverr as the architect for webinars on music, finance, STEM, illustration, and entrepreneurship. Now, as the founder of the Friendship Society organization, she helps artists create wealth in music and entertainment, as well as scale through the power of branding. So,
Hmm.
Joya, how did that feel hearing me read that to you?
Unearthing.
I love
Unearthing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say unearthing, I think I have a vibe of what you mean by that. But I want to hear more. What do you mean by that?
Um, it's the first music is like my first love. Like before anything, a relationship, a first crush, a first, do you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? It's always been my bestie, my go-to.
mm,
And I started writing at a very young age. So I started as a poet first and then transitioned. So when I hear all of that, it touches me in a way because music, the business of music, and all of it, it's all encompassing, encompassing
mm,
so much to me. So,
mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm. Yeah, I when I was reading, when I go through and I look at people's information online, I go to a variety of spaces that obviously I'll go to your website and things like that. But one of the things that I picked up on when I was just putting together kind of what I wanted to say in a quick 30-second, shot was
Mhm.
like, wow, she has done some really like this isn't like little girl music like she ain't playing house. Like this is a lot in some really pivotal spaces and obviously name brands like, obviously someone like a Mary J. Blige and then, talking about those other brands are huge. At the same time, every time that I have gotten to know you, the humility, like that is not who I mean, I get it, but it's like, no, she's present, she's relatable, and she's, it appears paying it forward at this stage, of your life in the arts. So
Thank you.
you are appreciated.
Thank
Yeah, yeah.
you. Yeah, that means the world to me coming from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to talk about so Joya is after 40 because we don't invite guests who are under 40. So we're after 40. And if later you decide you want to share, you know, the exact age, you can, but that's not a must. That's not a must. But I do want to ask a little bit about the artist Joya in
Sure.
her 20s. In her 20s.
Sure.
Who who was that? Who was
Ooh,
that woman?
Lordy, have mercy. Um, the artist in her 20s was fearless, a worker bee. Um, if you look the name, if you look that up in the dictionary, it would have her face by it. Like she
Mm.
wanted to come in, and I think more than prove herself to be talented, she wanted to prove herself that she could outwork, outlast, and outdo
Ooh.
everyone.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So what was that where was that coming from? Where was that need to outdo or outlast? What do you think that was about for you then?
Um, the crazy thing is at the birth of the career, I was losing my mother. So
Ooh.
as God was giving life to one thing, then life was transitioning from me in another way. So
Mm.
because I lost her on the precipice of this thing, that in order for me to make everything okay, which is a crazy rationalization, but again, this is me in my
Yeah.
20s,
Yeah, yeah.
myself, the way that I can make it right with God is to totally exhaust myself, because she would
Mm.
have been so proud that I hadn't succumbed to this or that or this or that, and that I had just worked tirelessly. That would have
Mm.
meant that it was all worth it.
Mm. Mm. I thank you for the honesty, and I really believe, our 20s we're at a the sustainability, our youthfulness can definitely wear that more, like, we can hang that on our shoulder a bit more.
Yeah.
Um, but the scary part is as we age, yeah, there's physiological things that our body is like, changing, but it's really like it's almost like the brain body is like, girl, what? Like,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and it's my polar. The crazy thing is, it's my polar opposite now. I'm like, wait, what? No, I have to sleep, like my circadian rhythm. Like
yes,
I need to eat, and I'm working out. I need to wake up early. It's just a whole thing. So,
it's the whole thing. Yes. And so that's we're gonna get to that in a moment because as I was reading and learning a bit more, I see this holistic self that you're nurturing and encouraging others. But I want to slide before we get to that. The 30s. It's been interesting asking people what their 30s was like because the 30s is this can be this very interesting bridge. But tell me a little bit more. Were you still singing and grinding like that in the 30s? Oh, tell
yeah.
us. What were the 30s about then? What were they like for you?
The 30s was like a harder grind because the 20s
Mm.
I had the label behind me, which means I didn't have to grind as hard. They were doing all of the work
Mhm.
for me. By
Mhm.
the 30s, I had gone independent, and me being in New York at that time, it seemed as though there was always something to prove. So after you've proven you got the record deal, now you need to be a headliner. After you've proven you're
Mm.
a headliner, now you need to have a body of work. Like who feels that you're credible? Who have you worked with? Now that you've done that,
Mhm.
do a tour. Now that you've done that, are you diverse? Are you doing off Broadway? What are you, a one trick pony? Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like
It
for
just never
every
is.
yeah. So it was the 30s, girl. It was just the 30s was a grind, and also the 30s was the introduction to where I am now. That was the introduction to the business bug that I had got.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm. So
Hmm.
let's talk about the business bug for a minute. So because the business bug, this is where if you're doing a really, I mean, massive thing that you're doing, and I'm gonna let you explain more about the Friendship Society in a moment. But um the business for me, to be honest, is what has made me really put a massive pause in music. Like it is what has made me I love music, like it's very similar to you. Like I love music so much that I'm not willing to do that to her. Like I'm like, you know what? I respect you for the actual gift and craft of what you are, meaning music.
Yeah.
And um, I don't really believe in so much of what the business is doing. And I've had to really, it's almost like COVID helped me because, once COVID hit, I was, everybody was forced to not do anything. So it's like, woo, thank God. Like, because I need a minute, like so many people have said. But I really am not. So many people ask, are you picking back up? And I'm like, spirit is saying no right now.
Mhm.
Ego says nah because of the music business. That's what.
Correct.
So, so this is kind of off of kind of you and 20s, 30s, so forth. But tell me your honest opinion about the music business right now. What do you think?
Right now,
Mhm, mhm. I just because I wanna bring I know that the business is but I just wanna sit in that corner for a minute because
sure.
you're in the business, and we're gonna describe more about what you do in it, but what are just your opinions about the state of the music business?
I think the state of the music business is heaven. If
Mm,
ever there were a time, and we can recount, those of us that are like music enthusiasts, we could just take it back to like Bessie Smith. We could take it back to before jazz. Like we can take it back to like bebop. Like let's just start.
yeah.
So if we go from there to here, when from era to era, from genre to genre, from everything, when has there been what there is now? Like
Mm,
we
mhm,
have
mhm.
artists, we have so much more control. Like it's so much better. And even though
Yeah.
it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like there will always be a contrast to one, right? The law of polarity. So it's like
Mhm.
there's always going to be a yin and a yang. However,
Right.
I'm glad that these artists that are the do-gooders, like that just want to spread their love, spread their work, their artistry, and then have the community be involved. They're like growing in popularity. It's great to see. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's heaven.
Well, thank you for yes, say the heaven because I know I'm the doom. I'm Chicken Little. It's so funny. I feel like I'm Chicken Little lately with music. The sky's falling, the sky's falling. But when you say it like that, because you again, especially given the lens in which you were doing your grind and under a label and under an era where yeah, building your own community and being able to talk directly to your fans like that, wasn't the case. And you
Correct.
are right. You are
Yeah.
right. That
Yeah.
is true. That is true. We'll have to sit down and have a girlfriend chat because
Please,
I reckon
please, let's. No, seriously. I would love that.
yeah, because I see how you're talking about how artists can make, wealth and licensing their music and really understanding that the business, the true business of it and how you leverage it. Um, which yes, I think is really important. So
Yeah.
speaking of which then, so we have 30s, it was even a heavier grind.
Mhm.
What made you surrender and say, you know what, I'm shutting down maybe so much of the performance side and I'm gonna shift gears and go in more on the business side. Was there an incident or was it a process? And what was that?
I think it was both, and that's a great
Mhm.
question. So I had taken a little break. I was like, "Ah, it's not every time I go to do a project, it's not the project. Like it's
Mm.
not what I want, it's not coming out. Something's not happening." So I took a back seat. I was like, I'm gonna take a back seat. So then all these things crept in, and if I'm being honest, it was ego. I've always felt
Mm.
like when it comes to artists, I think artists are geniuses. Whatever we want to do, we will do. It just
Right.
whatever it may be. If we want to be, it's just something about um, what resonates in an artist that we are right brain, but many don't know.
Mhm.
We're very scientific on that left side as well.
Yeah.
Showing you
Yeah.
what we don't want to show you. right? So it's like,
Yep.
I think it was a little bit of arrogance, if I'm being honest, instead of me talking to myself from a place of self doubt. I was like, if I wanted to, I could do it. And then
Mm.
the thing of, well, oh, really? Just okay. Well, go ahead then. You're over 40. It's a different
Yeah.
sound. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna record that somebody wants to hear?
Mm.
So I put my money behind myself. I went in the studio. I got an engineer that I adore, and we
Mm.
put something together. And I got signed. And so it was a it
Wow.
was a thing. Like, see, I told you. You know,
Yeah.
I just felt like at that point, I was just proving myself to be right. So what I said was, if this works out, then now I will switch the whole thing and I'm going to
Mm.
help my community. So,
Mm. And that's what, wow. So did you were you for you to really learn kind of the how did you learn the music business? Because, one of the hardest things is having artists, particularly artists who, and I'm gonna assume I know how, but I want those because a lot of people in the audience may not really understand how music business works.
yeah.
And how did you learn what you are teaching now, helping other artists learn? Like what was your process of really learning this business?
I think the introduction to the process was having the labels say that they were going to drop me. I didn't know where that was coming from. They were saying that it was money, like six figures plus missing,
Mm.
that wasn't accounted for, like misallocating funds. I didn't have anything.
Mm. Oh,
So
wow.
at that point, my aunt and I, God bless her, we got together, we worked it out with them. They were like, okay, we're going to move your production company out of the way and you'll sign directly to us, directly to Universal now. So directly to Universal.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. So they tried. I was the only urban artist on the label.
Mm.
As I just,
Mm.
at that point, there was nowhere for them to go because we were
Mhm.
outsourcing everything. So because I was this kid signed to this major label, but my label was predominantly 98% alternative, they wouldn't
Yeah.
understand. So I had to do everything, my manager and I, from an outsource perspective. So
Gotcha.
grew out of hardship, but it also grew out of me having to be the point person, even though I was signed to a
Yeah.
deal with all of these outlets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, and I know, as independent artists, you learn, like, you gotta learn, you won't survive, like,
Yep.
you have to learn,
Yep.
and a
Yep.
lot of people who come to me on 2 sides of the coin, one, an aspiring artist is like, they're just wanting to sing or just wanting to perform, I'm like, they wanna be independent, but just wanna independently sing, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 there's so much to this, okay? And your independence will only be as strong as you understanding how this goes, how you make your money and how you create different streams of money while not just thinking of yourself on a stage per se. That's a part of it. But and also then to those who are not artists who are listening, understand understand all that's going on to make these things happen. It's not singular, it's not double, it's not triple. It is so multi dimensional the way that you're able to hear a good song
Yes.
and to hear it repetitively. It's there's a lot to that. So we're gonna shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about a little more of Joya and how did Joya keep her mental health, her emotional health, um, her physical health. Like, what have you? Is it different now after 40 than it was, or have you just been building through the years?
Um, so yes, definitely different. Yep. And I
Mhm.
think because when you're young, there's something different that drives you. I heard Kobe Bryant say in an interview once, he was driven by like pain. And
Mm,
I would liken myself to the same. It's like if you hold on to it long enough, it's like an endless tank of gas. But that's
mm.
because you're young, you think it's endless, but you're gonna hit that brick wall and you'll hit it hard. so
Yes. Yes.
um, so yeah, so I had to I think I started my journey, I'm going to say in 97. I was given a book when I was on tour with Mary, and the book was called
Mm,
Seven Spiritual Laws of Success.
mm,
And I one day found myself in my living room in Queens reading this book, sitting in a rocking chair. And there was a
mm.
line, and I will never forget the line. The line said, "This very second, this very moment is a culmination of all of your past seconds and moments."
Mm, mhm.
I just remember flipping the book over and just kind of sitting back for a second and letting that resonate to say, like, this is on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's not a mistake. It's not. So it's been a long journey, but I think, God is good. I've learned to just be upright about it and walk through it, no matter how
Mm,
tumultuous it has been at times. Um,
mhm.
I love where I am, just in that, I feel like I'm always taking God with me. And
Mm,
it's just, I've learned, like, even with the singing, I love singing. I adore it. Just
mhm.
as you say, it's like,
Mm.
do I have to give that up? Mm,
Yeah.
not really. Not
No.
so.
No.
It's just a great place to be. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
You beam that, and it's, I don't know, yeah, I know that at the time that we're recording this, you just had a birthday. You just had a birthday. And you are a Pisces, and I
Yeah.
love Pisces. That
Yeah.
Pisces water healing and very intuitive energy, extremely
Yeah.
intuitive and very divine, very Pisces energy is the closest to the divinity in when you look at astrology because the last sign technically of
Yeah.
it's the full circle, it's the 12th.
Yeah.
So and you exude that energy. And so how what are some daily practices, I guess? What are some daily things that you find yourself doing that gives you that levity that others could maybe grab from you?
One is, so some practices, just for all of those who are looking for something. Sometimes it can be mundane. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I
Yeah.
Insight Timer. I love Insight Timer. I go to different meditations in the morning.
Mm.
But if I'm being honest, there are two things. One is prayer, and just like a not in a prayer type, like a talk.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
look, uh, like, it's like it's given, like, it's gonna be up season. You will
Mhm,
heal,
mhm.
but, sometimes
Mhm.
it's very that. And then another thing that I do is, I'm a vision board person. I know a lot of people don't like vision boards, but I'm always a visualizer, and I'm a talker.
Mm.
So I have been having interviews with, like, TED Talk, Good Morning America, Oprah. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Nice, yes, yes.
Years, just trying.
Oh my god, you know what? Oh my god, I yes. I haven't done it as much recently,
Mhm.
but I used to all the time. Like, yeah, I'm a guest on Barbara Walters. Like, I'm letting you know what's going on. Yeah, girl.
Yes, because you're speaking it into existence.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
No, I love that you're saying that you're having actual, these conversations like, at the bar with, not at the bar, but you're really being candid in
Yeah,
this relationship with God in your time together. And I encourage people, God can handle it. God energy can handle it.
definitely.
Can handle it, and go there so that yes, you get things out. They're not just sitting buried in your head and in your gut. They're actually getting out, which is a big part of manifestation. Is getting it out, getting out. So, in our last few minutes, I would love to hear, tell us more about the Friendship Society. I love the title. Maybe just what it is that you do. And I would love to know how long it's been kind of going. Just is this something really new, or is this something that's been around for a minute? But tell us about it. Tell us the goods.
Sure. So, the Friendship Society is an artist relations and media company. I started the company in 2018, and it's very simple. I help artists, one, diversify, because I feel like sometimes we're so focused on the EP or the single or the project that we forget that
Yes.
there are tons of other things that we can be doing with the music, and it will just give us just a more broader perspective and even exposure, so that's
Yes.
one thing. The
Yes.
other thing is monetization. So when music, as it continues to progress, the way that we receive our payouts is much more complex than it
Yes.
than,
Very. Yeah. Yeah.
so we have to talk about licensing. We have to talk about royalties. We have to talk about the streams these organizations that artists should be signed up for so that they can get their payouts, not just ASCAP, but Sound Exchange, understanding what TuneCore is doing, that they are a third party aggregator, or understanding what
Hmm.
baby, or if you signed up for publishing now, do you understand what that means? You don't have to sign up with the MLC because now TuneCore handles that. So there's a
Yeah.
whole huge, conversation. And then at the end, the last thing is we're just working together on building a business. Never, well, I won't say never, but as far as independent artists go, excuse me, they
Hmm.
see major artists on platforms that have this massive expansion and just lots of
Right.
wealth, health, and prosperity. Okay, gone are those days. Like, we can have it too. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like
Right. Right.
we'll work together. I always tell someone I can't, seven figures, I don't know because I haven't seen it yet, but six, I can talk to you
Mm.
about that because I
Yes.
took me a while, but I got there. So
We got there.
yeah.
Yes. And I think it's so important that, I'm so glad you have this, because so that artists can see themselves as working artists and really understand, the business of it and how they grow themselves and how they don't have to grind so hard in these spaces that have such, little kind of payoff. And there are seasons to your artistry, right? So there's, depending on kind of where you are, especially if you're really about the craft. And still, there's so many ways to still leverage, and without that becomes a more passive situation. At the same time, really having strong content so that it just constantly works for you, even when you're not in its active space, because I still get royalties and I'm like, really? And without having had new music out. But it's just, it's like this music you did create, it's timeless. People still are streaming. You're still, no, it's not, these thousands of whatever, but it is. I know that if I hadn't done it in a quality way, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't still be getting what, I get. So,
there you go. That you said it. You just said it, Kenya.
yeah.
You're the perfect example of that. How you've recorded, the way, what, look at the projects you've put out. Look at your collaboration
Yeah.
body of work. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that, and that is a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
you're an artist, so you may say, Oh, it's cool, but that is like the thing. It is.
No, thank you for that, and it's funny, when I was in the process, my mentor who is one of my producers, and he's a very dear friend and a huge, massive mentor. He pushed me so hard to say, "We have to make this if you make this the best quality, you are not gonna have this one song can do, he's like, so let's just really be patient with this because it's going to and he was right. He's been on the show. His name is Kendall Duffy, and he's really taught me that a huge. And so that's why I'm glad people like you are helping other artists because you've got to be mentored artists. I don't care what stage you got to have that because go to people like Joy who've been in this business for a minute. She's not just da, la, la. I mean, like she's been here, she's done this, and so yes, you can discern what you're able to really grab on and what not,
Yeah.
but just don't try to do everything completely blindly by yourself when because there's a lot of that you can have a lot of flow, and I'm glad to hear that the Friendship Society is doing that. So how do they get in touch with you? What would a person need to do?
Thank you. So you can follow me at the Friendship Society on Instagram and also on Twitter. On Twitter, sorry, it's TFS underscore
Mm.
ATL. And then Facebook, it's the Friendship Society. And then, of course, on TikTok, it's the Friendship Society. So follow me on those
Y'all check her out. She's got some great videos, great reels, really great when you do lives.
Thank you.
And yeah, I love that you do it quickly. Like the reels, sometimes reels like, but you're packing some good information. And yeah,
It's tough. It's like, okay, what am I going to say today? Like,
but you find a way, and it doesn't need to be that deep. I tell people, I mean, they're really making it now. I mean, there's a love hate relationship I have with all of that, but I think when you're giving good content, it's like, yeah, no, this is super helpful,
yeah,
super 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 helpful. So
yeah.
my last two questions. One is going to be hard probably for you. Well, you might have. This was actually, well, the one question I gave you ahead of time, so you might have already thought about it, but this first one, before I get to the maybe hard one,
Okay.
what are you looking most forward to at this stage of your life?
Mm. Um, hmm. I am looking most forward to continuing to build. So, building, be it um, a career or the careers of others, or my life, and being it,
Mm,
have it to be a more solid foundation and infrastructure. That's what I'm praying, that I'm sustained for that, to
mm,
build for my dad, for my daughter, for my husband,
yeah,
my
yeah.
cousins, my grandmother, all of those things. In my mind, I wish that it would, go faster. I feel like I'm like, come on,
Come on. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
that's what I'm looking forward to. And then just growing in my spirituality. It feels good. This was a tough
Mhm.
year for me. I'm probably the heaviest I've ever been in my life. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it was a tough year, but
Well,
on the other
girl, see, we gotta talk after that because I don't know what your exact age is, but our
oh,
bodies are changing as women. They're changing, and I'm huge on this of us learning. How do we learn how to, we hear body acceptance,
yeah,
but I still feel like we hear it in kind of the Lizzo way, and there's an in between. No, seriously, there's an in between before a Lizzo, like, and it can be very challenging because no, maybe I'm not in that space with weight gain or changes, but I'm
yeah,
also not what I was when I was 20, 30 something. What is this, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
But at the same time, the gifting that your body is asking you to do at this point, it's
yeah,
wanting you to focus on some other things. It's wanting you to surrender into nurture, as opposed to these aesthetic things. It's still, which is still, you're still in learning. My beauty now means something different to me. And if I have a fuller space, or fuller, I occupy a bit more, um it's, I just feel like, spiritually, it is asking us, how can we value our bloom and our fullness, while still being healthy, like, and not just going off the quarter. But yeah, we talk about, that's another episode. But
Yes. But that's what
yeah, yeah.
I'm looking forward to all of that. So,
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, this is the last question. What is a theme song that for you, either today or that you just always have had, a song that just motivates you? What's the song?
ooh.
I know it's hard as a singer. I know this is a hard question, but
No, it's not. Not really.
okay.
Um,
Okay, good.
I have two actually, but the first would be LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out.
Oh, come on. Yes. I
That is,
love it.
yes, that's my one. And then the other one is from Nas's Illmatic album.
Mm,
Um, it's called Memory Lane. That's the name.
mm,
So those are like my
nice.
two soundtracks to like.
Nice. I'm so glad you said Mama said that, because so we're creating a playlist, a Spotify playlist, and so I was going, when I first decided that I wanted to do a playlist to go along with the podcast. I was thinking, yeah, every week we'll just add a song. And I'm like, girl, you got too much. So what we decided, we're building it. It will be released this summer.
Yeah,
And obviously you are an artist. So those of us, those artists that I have who are actual singers and musicians,
yeah,
any music that we have that, I can find that's actually on Spotify. It does have to be Spotify only because of the way the podcast is hosted, but
yeah.
and so that we can make sure it is played. But yeah, it will include that as well. So now I'm like, oh, we got LL Cool J on the list. I'm excited. And Nas. I don't
Yeah,
think anybody else has said Nas. I think somebody said most stuff, but not Nas. I'm like,
those are my two. And then, well, I guess that's R&B. I should have said R&B, but if it's R&B, it would be Tank and the Bangers, just because I love.
ah, yes,
Yes, so it would
yes,
be
yeah,
probably Mr. Lion by Tank and the Bangers.
yes, yeah.
I love
Taking the Vegas are really special,
that.
really special. And I know that people who follow them know that. And I think in the general scheme, if you've heard of them, it's like, yeah, but no, when you really sit with what they're doing, on all kinds of levels,
Mm,
really special band,
mm,
really special group. Yeah,
very, very
yeah,
much so. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well, this has been delightful. I knew it would be. I
Thank
knew it would be.
you.
For those of you who are listening, we're going to continue the conversation just a bit. I'm going to ask Joya to provide a couple tips. So if you feel like you want to hear more from her, want to hear some tips, then go on over to patreon.com/finding your voice. That way you get the video. All you got that $5 guys to get in, or you can do one of our free trial. We have a free trial membership for one of our more self-care coaching levels. So if you either one of those, you can join, and then that way you automatically can watch the videos and the bonus content. So we will be back next week otherwise. And it was wonderful. Thank you so much, Joya. I appreciate you.
Likewise.
All right, bonus. Okay, I was torn. I was like, do I want to ask her to provide a tip on like music? Yeah, or do I want to ask you about something a little bit more personal? I I think I want to ask you to provide to that person who is a creative, how can they, what are some tips to help them stay motivated to do this? Because one of the things I see from you is this, this constant, you stayed in the game despite. Any tips for how to stay motivated? And those who are not artists, obviously, this could probably translate in other areas.
Absolutely. And you can ask me anything you want. Anything, Kenya. Um,
Thank you.
let's see, to stay motivated. Well, that's simple. I think, and not so simple, but here's my advice to artists. When we are creating from that space, we're creating from a personal space. But once you garner the attention, now you have a responsibility that you didn't have when you first begun, which is why sometimes it can
Mm.
be hard to understand. But I would just challenge artists to understand that your voice is for the voiceless. Your
Mm.
song, your tone, what you have to say, what's in your heart. This is we are one universal mind. So chances are that someone else has gone through the journey or is going through the journey or trying to get through the journey that you've already surpassed. Maybe you're in
Yeah.
your fifth journey. So just understand that it's a responsibility. That's a responsibility, is the gift, not a weight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've been
Yeah.
gifted this beautiful, precious, awesome, and amazing thing that the Creator has put to to you. So
Yeah.
to be motivated is that when it gets tough, remember there are 10,000 little yous and everybody that may be important to them alongside them waiting for you.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's a excellent word to give people when it comes to motivation, to understand that there's a world waiting for your
Right.
gifts.
Right.
Just like you receive gifts from others, suppose those people withheld that. Suppose you didn't get that song from Prince, or you didn't get that song from Taking the Bangers, or whatever, like those, or your theme songs, you know. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
And my last question is, what is something that you wish I would have asked you, but we didn't have time for me to ask, or just something you want people to know about you that maybe you haven't shared yet?
Hmm. You've asked wonderful and amazing questions, so I can't think of any beat that
Mm.
you have missed, which I didn't think that you would.
Ah.
'Cause you're an astonishing person, an amazing talent, and
Oh, thank you.
yeah. So, and what is the thing that I would want them to know? This is a young girl you're looking at or listening to, a young girl from not, I would say, poverty, but just a young
Mm,
girl from the hood, from Detroit,
mm,
with dreams of just trying to get there. And
mm,
there have been so many mountains to climb. But if I can somehow trudge through, then anybody who's listening to my voice, if you're feeling like, you know what I'm saying, maybe
yeah.
you've given all you have to give, just please, 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 it's going to be a brighter sunrise tomorrow. That's
Mm,
that's the thing I want to that's what I want to say. Just that's the thing I want someone to hold on to. If it can happen for me, it can happen for anybody.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Joya. And I know we weren't able to dig into all of the walls and the barriers and the challenges, but I'm glad that you know, gave kind of perspective for people to say, listen, I'm coming from a different space than where I'm at. And you know, I think it's easy for us when we see people in interviews and, you know, at this point online, we don't get to hear all of the challenges, and that's okay that we don't, because people need privacy. But understand, there ain't no human. There is not a human, not near one, not near one that doesn't have a probably tremendous amount, you know, of challenge. So understand we're in community with that. We all are facing, and and therefore we can be in community with winning. We can be in community with winning too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I love
No,
it.
thank
Love
you.
it.
Fine. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I'm just honored to be here, Kenya. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I again, congratulations to what you're doing and how you're moving through things and what you're building. And I think artists, we as artists paying it forward this way and creating a business, so your livelihood is supported too, is so important because we want artists to still remain artists. We want people to still hear good music and have good quality experiences. So
Yeah.
we need people like yep, yep, yep. So
Yes. And
uh,
support this podcast, please.
yes.
I've listened to several of the episodes, and I'm like, oh my God,
Thank
this is
you.
amazing. It's so uplifting, Kenya. So thank you so much for what
Oh,
you're doing. This is
thank you.
beautiful.
I love it. I love doing it, and I think we're growing really. I wanted this first year to be really organic. I didn't want it to be, like, oh, we gotta pump it. I really didn't want, because I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. Let's see how this this feels. I know that I do coaching with people, and I hear their stories, and I'm like, my goodness gracious, we need to hear more people on this side of life, this after 40, because it's so inspirational. There's so much more we're doing than so I love doing it. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you being a part of the first year of it. So yeah, it's doing good. We're doing good. So all righty, guys that are watching, I'm gonna end our recording. I'm gonna ask you, Joya, just to stay one quick second longer, but we will be back next week, guys. Thanks for watching.